Okay, so today I thought would share perhaps another update on how my self-study is going. Now, this week has been pretty busy because of all the graduation preparations from high school. So, and tomorrow is my graduation, so I didn't get a lot done this week, but next week I have big plans because um, I don't really have much going on next week. So, to begin, let's talk about Princeton's honors analysis book, Gunning's An Introduction to Analysis. So, I did manage to complete up to section 2.3 on topological spaces, but I have not yet looked at compact sets. I imagine a lot of the content would be familiar because I've looked at Munka's before. I've done a decent portion of it, maybe not all of it, but a decent portion, and this is some of the stuff that you would expect to see. So, yeah. And now let's take a look at compact sets. So we have open coverings, subcoverings, compact, compactness theorem, and then we have Bolzano-Weierstrass, Cantor set, Bayer's category theorem, first category, second category, all that stuff. So I did complete 2.3, but I did not get to 2.4. My goal is to work on 2.4 on the car ride to graduation, which is in the city, and hopefully doing the problems at home after graduation. So when it comes to Arden, I actually did finish what I planned to do this week. So this week I was going to focus on vector spaces. Now, again, a lot of this is familiar content because I've taken a linear algebra course and a lot of it seems very familiar. Arden seems to integrate linear algebra into his book. So, this is groups. Yeah, over here. So, you'll see a lot of familiar content if you've taken linear algebra. And next week, I'm hoping on working on linear operators as well as their applications. So there's that. I was also just working on Morin's classical mechanics today, and we have gone up to chapter 3, which is on Newton's second law, F equals ma, as well as how to use it. And I haven't gotten to the exercises yet, but I have finished reading the section. So there's like a section on just some problems for F equals ma. There's differential equations, polar coordinates, projectile motion. I haven't looked at the problems yet, but they seem intense. Like, I'm noticing a lot more 3 stars here than I was in chapter 2. I don't know how I'm going to fare because I did have a decent amount of trouble with chapter 2. Sometimes it would take upwards of an hour to solve a problem, but I started getting better the more I solved. So hopefully, I mean, it seems like there's no shortage of problems here. So I think I'll be on this for quite a while. But there's that. And I've also been looking at, once again, geometry of differential forms. And let's see where I am. So I've been looking at geodesics and parallel translation of vectors. So Oh, we're back at 1. So there's some familiar stuff, but it's good to see the same content multiple times, multiple different sources. So now let's look at this sort of ridiculous list for next week. The goal is to do as much as possible, not necessarily all of them, because this, I suspect, would be highly improbable that I would complete all of this in just 1 week. But I'm going to try, and I'm just going to try to complete as much as possible. So I think there's no harm in doing that. So by next week, I should have finished up to section 2.4. So that means I would have finished chapter 2, which is great. So then I can move on to chapter 3, sections 3.1 and 3.2 on continuous and differentiable mappings. So, and a lot of this book is based on Spivak's calculus on manifolds, I suspect. Except it feels like it has a little more content and it's a little bit more detailed. And there's also more emphasis on the linear algebra as opposed to the multivariable analysis. That's not to say that Gunning doesn't really have multivariable analysis. I've been told that the book treats multivariable analysis from the onset, after the fundamentals. So that's what I'm planning on doing for Gunning. For Arden, as I mentioned before, chapters 4 to 5 on linear operators. So here we have the Jordan form. What else is here? Characteristic polynomial, so more linear algebra. What's this? The matrix exponential. Systems of differential equations, and so on and so forth. So that's a little bit of linear algebra. With Morin, I'm going to see if I can complete a good chunk of the chapter 3 problems. I've learned that the more you do, the better. So I'm also planning on calling some of my friends who are also planning on taking the course that uses this book. And we're going to go over some of the problems in chapters 1 and 2. Not necessarily 3 or 4 for that matter. So 4, we're looking at things like simple harmonic motion, damped harmonic motion, driven harmonic motion, and other things. I think I've seen these before in a differential equations book, Tenenbaum and Pollard, but I've since forgotten much about it, so because it honestly wasn't really that useful for me, or at least up until now, so good thing too. I might also look at that book again over the summer as well. Also the tensor book. I didn't manage to write anything regarding the tensor book this week, but I'll try to. That's going to be the first thing I'm going to focus on, the tensor book. So this is going to be. Furthermore, I want to start looking at Hatcher since I've gone through a good chunk of Monkrez. Start from the basics, of course, chapter 1. I know there's a chapter 0, but I've heard mixed reactions from chapter 0, so, and I'm more interested in learning in more detail the fundamental group and homology and cohomology and all of that sort, especially since I've encountered the ideas of homology and cohomology before, as well as homotopy. So I'll see if I can try sections 1.1 and 1.2. Maybe I might just go through section 1.1. If not, that's totally fine. And then Morita, differential forms, I'm going to be looking at, where is it? Connections and curvature. So I've seen some of that before in the context of Riemannian geometry, but I think vector bundles and later fiber bundles will generalize the idea of connections. That's what I believe. So I know this is pretty intense studying for, you know, someone who isn't even a freshman yet in college, but I think it'll be worthwhile when I come into college, like absolutely knowing a lot of the content. So that's it for today. I'll post more differential geometry videos soon. Going to delve into surfaces, which is pretty exciting. I've been talking about curves for so long, so I guess that's basically it, and I'll see you in the next video.